Right, okay, so we've been through most of the things. The last thing to look at is stability of furniture. This is to do with wardrobes, cupboards, etc. And we're going to go through those standards now and why they're important. They look like that. You see those everywhere. Basically, as you tilt it a little bit, they all start coming. So there's a chest of drawers that's just been assembled. As you can see, two of the drawers are hanging out and it might be unstable, that it might not be. And the purpose of the stability tests is to check whether it is safe or not. So ISO 7171 2019, the stability of storage furniture for domestic use. This applies to any type of domestic storage furniture. It doesn't matter whether it's a wardrobe, a bookcase, a chest of drawers, dresser, bureau, etc. Applies to everything. So that wardrobe there, it's got two doors open and the bottom drawer, and that's in a fairly unstable state. It might stand up, it might not. So really we need to look at the standards. If we focus on Appendix A2, it states the requirements for stability apply only to items where the height top of the unit is over 60 millimeters and where the potential energy exceeds 60 Newton meters. Now 600 millimeters isn't particularly high, it's 2 foot, 60 centimeters, it's not very high at all. And 60 Newton meters is a very small force, it's 6 kilograms, it's hardly anything at all. So to all intents and purposes, as far as you're concerned, all units over 600 mil should be attached to the wall if a bracket or anti-topple device is supplied, and all units over this height will have been tested to the British standard for stability purposes. So if a bracket isn't supplied, it should be free to stand up on its own accord. Annex B, the purpose of the test methods. Basically, all these tests check whether the storage unit can fall over in a wide variety of conditions. So test 6.2.1 is to test whether someone sitting on the edge of a unit over a metre tall, 1000 millimetres, or one that can be adjusted to over this height will cause the item to tip. So it's testing whether someone sitting on the edge of it or leaning against it would do that. And similarly, test 6.2.2 tests whether someone leaning against the unit over this height will cause the item to tip. Test 6.3 determines whether the unit will tip over when a door or drawer is flung open with the unit in its most unstable state. So for example, the wardrobe we showed a picture of before, both the doors are open and the drawer is open. That's its most unstable state. So if you shut the drawer and flung that open, would it tip? If you shut each of the doors and flung them open, would it tip? And that's what this test is looking at. Test 6.4.1 to determine whether a unit will tip over when all the doors and drawers are open or anything that can be extended is open. So again, going back to that wardrobe we saw the picture of, both the doors and the drawer was open. So that's its most unstable state. Will it tip over in that state? Similarly with the chest of drawers, open all the drawers, will it tip over? This is what they're testing for. Now the next test, 6.4.2 and 6.4.3, tests whether the unit will tip over when someone supports themselves on one open door or drawer whilst trying to open another. Typically you'll see this with a tall wardrobe. Maybe it's got a sideboard with a cupboard at the top to try and open it. They'll very often lean on parts of the unit to try and climb up it and leverage them so they can get a bit higher, in which case they're going to lean on the unit. And this test here will test whether a unit will tip over under those conditions. Test 6.5 tests whether the unit will tip over when someone tries to open it when it is locked. Now, security features on office cabinets, some wardrobes, etc. The customer might walk up to it, or the individual, assume it's unlocked and just grab hold of the door and open it as if it's unlocked. And so they'll apply quite an excessive force to do that. And if it is locked, could they pull the whole unit over? And that's what this test is for. Test 6.6 is for anything on casters, such as filing cabinets. And if you're sliding it about and it hits something on the floor, maybe a doorstop between rooms or something like that, or a cable, will it tip over? So there's a specific test related to that to see whether an item will tip over in its normal use. Now finally, this is a bit of a get out on the standard. If an item is attached sufficiently well to the wall, it's going to pass all those tests because it can't possibly fail them. So test 6.7 tests whether the brackets that are supplied with the unit prevent the unit tipping and are sufficiently strong to do so. What this point demonstrates is that when a product is supplied with brackets or an anti-topple device, that's what you should use to fix it to the wall. If you use your own brackets, they might not be as strong and they might not function in the same way. So always use the brackets that are supplied with the product, because if you use the wrong ones, you might end up causing an accident. So if a bracket or anti-topple device is supplied, use it as indicated. Avoid using your own brackets because they might not be strong enough. Now, this last point is quite important. Many tenants are prevented from fixing things to the wall in their lease. If this is the case, you must highlight the issues if you come across an item that's unstable. So just putting your hand on it and saying, well, look, it seems stable enough and I know it's been supplied by a bracket, that's good enough. Well, no, it's not really, because we now know that there are a series of tests that are applied, and it's all to do with opening the doors and sitting on it and leaning on it and all these other things we've just discussed. So you need to use that as a basis for your advice to the tenant to identify what it is about the piece of furniture that makes it unstable, so that they can be aware of that. So here's some advice if it's not attached to the wall. Just let your customer know. Never sit on the edge of the unit, never lean on the unit or its doors, never fling the doors open or drawers open. Avoid having multiple doors and drawers open at the same time, and never support yourself on a door or drawer. And be careful opening the unit if it can be locked.